Hello student, welcome you to Mohan Sir's classes. In this lecture, we will learn part 2 of the dawn of modern culture in Europe and India. That is the early modern age, year between 1300 to 1800 CE. Yesterday, in the part 1, I have taught you that there were three important processes occurred during 14th to 17th century. During 14th to 17th century, there were three important processes occurred. Those are the Renaissance, the Reformation, and the Enlightenment. So, in this lecture, we are going to learn about the Renaissance. In this lecture, we will learn about the Renaissance or the period of Renaissance. Let us begin the class. The Renaissance. The first topic is the study of ancient classic and travel abroad. First topic is the study of ancient classics and travel abroad. That means how the people studied about the ancient classical language and how they travel abroad in the sense different foreign countries. And here the paragraph begin like this. Most of the Latin and Greek classics focused on humanity and human life. Most of the Latin and Greek classics, they focused on what? Humanity and human life. So the main area of study and inquiry were politics, ethics, philosophy, law, civility, nature and physical world, etc. Listen carefully. As we are going to learn the study of ancient classic and travel abroad, so most of the Greek classics focused on humanity and human life. That's why the study area were mostly what? Politics, ethics, philosophy, law, civility, and nature of physical world. These were the most or main area of study this Greek and Latin classics. Next, since this study was focused on human beings, it was known as humanism or the humanities. Listen carefully. This study focused on what? Human beings. This study is focused on human being. That's why this study was called what? Humanism or the humanities. Next sentence. It was different from religious thought. This humanism and humanities are different from the religious thoughts. It was based on believing any religious text or religious leader or making sacrifice in the world for heavenly salvation. That means this humanism and humanities, the study about humanism and humanities, it is not based on believing any religions or religious textbook or religious leaders, or not even what? Sacrifices in this world for heavenly salvation. That means this humanism or the study of humanities is not about the believing any religion and religious textbook, religious leader, or doing sacrifice in the world to get the heavenly salvation or mukti. It did not talk about penance of suffering. That means this also what? This humanism is not talking about the penalty or the wages of suffering or penalty of suffering. What it emphasized was rational and critical thinking. So what is focus? Which one? The study of humanism. They focus on rational and critical thinking. It encouraged people to think for themselves, not blindly accept that anyone said. According to humanism or the people of humanism, they says that they have to think critically themselves and they should not believe anyone blindly. So even these teachings of religious leaders were examined rationally and critically. Even in those days, whatever the religious leader taught, those things were examined rationally and critically. So, in this paragraph, we learn that our topic is the study of ancient classic and travel abroad. So, most of the Latin and Greek classics they focused on what? Humanity and human life. That's why the main area of studies were like politics, ethics, philosophy, law, civility, nature, and physical world, etc. Since the study was focused on human beings, that's why this is called what? Humanism or humanities. And this study of humanism and humanities is totally different from the religious thought. It is not based on any religious belief, religious textbook, religious leader, or not that we sacrifice in the world then we will go to heaven or we will get the heavenly salvation. Even this humanism or study of humanities did not talk about the penalty of suffering. It emphasized what? Rational and critical thinking, and it encouraged people to think for themselves and not to accept anyone blindly. That means even the religious leaders and religious teachings were examined rationally and critically, then only it was believed by the people. Next paragraph. The Middle Ages was the time when Christianity had established itself across Europe. That means during the Middle Ages, what happened? Christianity established itself across Europe. In the Middle Ages, Christianity has been spread and established almost all the European countries. The powerful Christian church did not like its teaching to be questioned. That means in those days, the powerful Christian church they did not like that whatever they taught it should be questioned by somebody. Understood? Powerful Christian church they did not like whatever they taught that someone would question or inquire it. It said the Greek and Latin classics were written before the birth of Christ. So according to Christianity, it is said that the Greek and Latin classics were written when? Before the birth of Christ. So they could not be in harmony with Christian scripture. That's why this humanist or humanism they says that they could not be harmony. What is harmony? Happy with the Christian scripture or Christian textbook. The church preached that people should pursue worldly wealth and prosperity but should not seek salvation in heaven. The church preached that people should not pursue worldly wealth and prosperity and should seek salvation in heaven. According to the church, and the teaching of the church was that we should not have the worldly wealth and prosperity, money, property. According to the teaching of church, in the world we should not have any wealth, property or any money, etc. But what we have to do? We should seek salvation in heaven. We should not always do good things that will get salvation or mukti in the heaven. As a result, few people studied the Greek and Latin classic during the Middle Ages, when these things was taught by the Christian church. So because of that, to know that one or to understand that one, many of the people they studied Greek and Latin classic during the Middle Ages. This text gradually disappeared from the Western Europe because of the church opposition. And what happened? Slowly in the Western Europe, this text, which one? This Greek and Latin classic slowly disappeared from the Western Europe because the church opposition. So in this paragraph we learn that during the Middle Age Christianity was spread across the Europe, and the powerful Christian church they did not like that people should question whatever they taught, and they said that Greek and Latin classic were written before the birth of Christ. That's why they could not believe in harmony and the teaching of Christian scripture. The church preached that people should not seek wealth, property, money, etc. in the world, but people should seek salvation in heaven. Because of this reason, what happened? Some people they studied classic, Greek and Latin classic during the Middle Age. And slowly what happened? This Greek and Latin classic was disappeared from the Western Europe because of the church opposition. Next paragraph. However, the Islamic kingdoms of Iran, Iraq, etc. continue to translate and study the classics. As it was which one, this Greek and Latin classic texts were disappeared from the Western Europe because of the church opposition. Even then what happened? These Islamic kingdoms which were Iraq and Iran, they continued to translate and study the classics. Which classics? This Greek and Latin classic. Next, Islamic culture flourished in 14th century. In the 14th century, the Islamic culture flourished. It influenced spreading from India to Spain. That means the spreading of Islamism start from India to Spain. It spread. During this time, Islamic scholar translated literary classic of China, India, Iran, Greece into Arabic and Persian. Listen carefully. During this time, which time? During this 14th century, what happened? The Islamic scholar, they translated literary classic of China, India, Iran and Greece into which language? Arabic and Persian language. So the entire Islamic region from Asia to Europe was exposed to a mixed Chinese, Central Asian, Indian, Iranian, Iraqi, Egyptian, Greek and other culture. Because of this region, because of what? Because of the translation of this classic of Chinese, India, Iran, Greek into Arabic and Persian, the Islamic region was exposed with a mixed culture. Mixed culture like a China, Central Asia, India, Iranian, Iraqi, Egyptian, Greek and other cultures. So in this paragraph we will learn that, as we learned from the previous paragraph, the Greek and Latin classic was disappeared from the Western Europe because of the church opposition. Even then, it was continued in the Islamic kingdom such as Iran and Iraq. They translated the classic. Next, during the 14th century, Islamic culture was flourished and it spread from India to Spain. And during this time, Islamic scholars, they translated the literary classic of China, India, Iran, Greece into which language? Into Arabic and Persian language. And because of this reason, what happened? The Islamic region were exposed to a mixed culture. That means a mixed culture of Chinese, Central Asia, India, Iranian, Iraqi, Egyptian, Greek and other cultures. Next paragraph. When interest in the Greek and Latin classic revived in Western Europe in the 14th century, the classical textbook preserved in the Arabic translation came in handy. Listen carefully. When interest in the Greek and Latin classics revived in Western Europe in the 14th century. That means earlier the Greek and Latin classic was disappeared. Where? From the Western Europe. But now again when the interest came in Greek and Latin classics, it was revived. When? In the 14th century, and the classical text preserved in the Arabic translation came in handy. That means which was preserved or saved in the Arabic translation, it came to hand of the people. Also, ancient mathematical and astronomical knowledge from India and scientific knowledge from China found their way to European scholar. Not only that, but also the mathematical and astronomical knowledge of India and scientific knowledge of China was found their way to European scholar. Because of this preservance or saved of this Islamic, what happened? It reached to the European scholar. So in this paragraph we will learn that slowly what happened? This Greek and Latin classics was revived in Western Europe during the 14th century when people become interested about this subject. And what happened? These textbooks were come to in the hand of people as these Arabic people they had translated. In same time, the ancient mathematics and the astronomical knowledge of India and scientific knowledge of China was found their way to reach the European scholars. Our next topic is 6.2.2 Humanism in Europe. Humanism in Europe. European scholars began taking an interest in studying Latin and Greek texts around 1300 CE. Listen carefully. European scholars they began to taking interest that means studying of this Greek and Latin text when in 1300 CE. Expanding trade, urbanization, other rise of powerful monarchies were creating new jobs. That means they expanded the trade, means business, urbanization, that means developing of cities and towns, and rise the powerful monarchies. What is monarchies? Kings. They created new jobs. They wanted to explore this challenge as a job. They wanted to explore this challenge as a job. Next paragraph. The Latin scholar Francisco Petrarch 1304 to 1374 CE of Italy is considered to be the person who ushered in the humanist movement. There was a Latin scholar, his name was Francisco Petrarch, and he is the person who ushered the humanist movement. What is ushered? That means showing the way or leading the way of what? Of humanist movement. Listen carefully. There was a Latin scholar, his name was Francisco Petrarch. He saw the way to humanist movement. He was distressed by the fact people that time were not using language properly. So who? This Petrarch. He was distressed and very sad that people they were not using the language properly. He began studying Latin classics to understand more about Latin and its uses. Because of that reason, what happened? He began to study the Latin classic and to understand more about language and its uses. He studied Latin classics and he tried to understand the language and how to use that Latin classics. He found that ancient texts not only help him to learn how to use language correctly, but also how to think critically to understand world better. So, what he found? He found that the ancient textbook, that means this Latin and Greek classics, it is not only helped him to learn the language correctly and to use the language correctly, but also it helped him to think critically to understand the world in the better way. Listen carefully. Latin scholar Francisco Petrarch, he was the person who led the way or who saw the way for the humanist development. And he was very sad that because people of that age were not using the language properly. That's why he began to study the Latin classic to understand more about the language and how to use this Latin classics. And at last he found that this ancient text not only helped him to learn the language and to use the language correctly, but also it helped him to think critically and to understand about the world in a better manner. Next paragraph. The study of Latin and Greek began to spread rapidly under the influence of Petrarch and other scholars. Through the influence of Petrarch and other scholars, the Latin and Greek language spread rapidly throughout the European country. The humanists believed that learning this text could improve the ability of young people to think and write formally, address the public, argue a case in court, or talk intelligently about the trade and politics. Listen carefully. The humanists believe that if a person learns this text properly, then this text will help him to improve the ability of young people. It will help them. It will help the ability of young people to think and write formally, and they can address the public. That means they can speak on the stage to the public. Even they can argue a case in a court, or they can talk intelligently about the trade and politics. So they began to establish schools to impart classical education. That's why what happened, the humanists, they established school to give this Latin and Greek classical education. They were helped in their tasks by invention. They were helped in their tasks by the invention of printing press in the year of 1439 by German artisan Johannes Gutenberg. That means, as they established the school to teach them this Greek and Latin classic. So in that time, what happened? There was a German artisan. His name was Johannes Gutenberg. He invented the printing press in the year of 1439, and because of that, what happened? Hundred of copies of books could be now easily printed through this printing press. Now it become easy to print out hundred of copies easily. Scholars far and wide could lay their hands on printing copies of old and new books. When this printed system started, so scholars from different part of the world, they given their written document for what? This old and new books. This stimulated debate and the exchange of ideas between people. Because of this, what happened? It encouraged or motivate about the debate and exchange of idea between people of different regions. So in this paragraph, we learn that the study of Latin and Greek began to spread rapidly under the influence of Petrarch and other scholars. Next, the humanists believe that this text, this Greek and Latin classic, will improve the ability of young people. That the young people, they can think critically, they could write formally, they could address the public, or they can speak on the stage, they could argue a case in a court, or they could talk intelligently about the trade and politics. Because of this reason, the humanists, they established school to impart or to give classical education. And in that time, in the year of 1439, there was a German artisan. His name was Johannes Gutenberg. He invented the printing press. Because of that, hundreds of books were available, and they could study easily. And when the printing press invented and books were published, many of the scholars, they contributed their writings both in the old and new books. And this one encouraged and motivated to debate and to exchange the idea between the people in different countries and regions. Next paragraph. While printing gave an impetus to study of Greek and Latin text, the scholars chose to write the regional languages they knew, like Italian, German, English, Flemish, and French. They wanted to write in a language that the common people could easily understand. So what does this paragraph says? This paragraph says that printing gave an impetus to study of Greek and Latin. What is impetus? That means printing force or encourage to study Greek and Latin text. And because of that reason, scholar, they choose to write regional languages they knew. Listen carefully. When printing press were invented, then people were motivated or forced to study this Greek and Latin language text. And in that time, the scholars, they choose to write the regional languages. What is regional languages? That means local languages like Italian, German, English, Flemish, and French. In this language, they wanted to write this Greek and Latin classic. They wanted to write in a language that common people could easily understand. So why they wanted to write in the regional languages? Because when they will write in the common language or the regional language, that means every people can easily understand. Example, you think that if all the schools will be provided English textbook, that means the people of government school and the village people, the students, they can't understand. That's why what happened, we have Hindi medium, that the village people and those who do not know Hindi, they can those who do not know English, they can easily understand by reading. Seems that like this Greek and Latin classic was translated by the scholar into different common languages or local languages. Next paragraph. What was the basic difference between human studying during the Renaissance and learning during the Middle Ages? Again, a new question. What is the question? What was the basic difference between the human studying during the Renaissance and learning during the Middle Ages? Because we know that earlier we have learned about the Middle Ages. Now we are talking about the Renaissance. So, what is the difference between the studying of humanists during the Renaissance and the study of Middle Ages? We saw earlier that in Middle Ages learning focused on religious themes. If we talk about, or early we learned that in the part 1 of this chapter, that earlier people used to learn, or the learning was only focused on religious themes based on their religious textbook and religion topic. No scholars had the courage to write or say something that against that the church thought or said. That means there were no one who could dare to write against the church, or who could write against or oppose the against the church. But human studies focused on the daily life of people, like the love story of a hero and heroine, the political system, socio and economic issues. But when the human study focused, when in the time of Renaissance, during the times of Renaissance, the humanists, they did not focus on the religious themes or religious topic. Rather, they focused on what? A daily life of people. What are the daily life of people? Like what? Like the love story of a hero heroine, or a political system, or socio-economic issues. Such kinds of topics were written by the humanist. So in this paragraph we learn that what was the difference between the studying of humanists during Renaissance and the learning during the Middle Age. So in the Middle Age we know that almost all the study and learning was focused on religious themes, and no scholars were there to write against the teaching of church. But the present humanists, they focused only the daily life of people, like the love story of a hero heroine, or the political system, or social economic issues in the society. Next paragraph. The humanists no longer hesitate to air their views about the church and even criticize it if they depend on church for their living. Now what happened? Humanists, they are now not fearing or afraid of give their view about the church and criticize church. Even these humanists are depending upon the church for their living. Listen, the humanists were depending upon their church for living. Even then, they did not hesitate, did not fear or afraid to give their views about the church and criticize about the church. For example, the Latin scholar Lorenzo Valla studied some important church documents in 1435 and proclaimed they were forgeries. So, there was a Latin scholar, his name was Lorenzo Valla. Lorenzo Valla. He studied some important document of church in the year of 1435, and he declared that all the documents were what? Forgeries. That means useless or no value. One such document with a seal of Roman emperor granted temporal power the Roman Catholic Church. So one of the example or such document with the seal of Roman emperor granted temporal power to the Roman Catholic Church. So in this paragraph we learn that many of the humanists, though they are living under the or for surviving, they are depending upon the church. Even there they didn't fear or didn't hesitate to criticize or to speak against the church. For example, there was a Latin scholar, his name was Lorenzo Valla, he studied some important document of church and in the year of 1435 and declared that all these things were what? Vain and valueless. And one such document with the seal of Roman Emperor granted temporal power to the Roman Catholic Church. Next paragraph. The well-known Dutch humanist, his name was Erasmus, studied the writings of early Greek Christian as well as the original Greek Bible. There was a well-known Dutch humanist or a humanist from Holland. His name was Erasmus. He studied the writings of early Greek Christians as well as the original Greek Bible. He pointed out that church translation of the Bible into Latin had many errors. So he said, who said? Erasmus. He said that as the church has translated Bible into Latin, there are many errors. That means while the church has did translation into Latin language, it has many mistakes and many errors. He also claimed that many of the beliefs of the church were of superstition. He also said that many of the beliefs and teachings of the church are superstitions and blind belief. He wrote a satirical book. The name of the book, In Praise of Folly, in which he critical look at many other church view and action. What happened? He wrote a book. The name of the book was In Praise of Folly. In Praise of Folly. In that book, he wrote critically many of the church view and action. So in this paragraph, we will learn that there was a well-known Dutch humanist from Holland. His name was Erasmus. He studied the writings of early Greek Christian as well as the Greek original Bible, and he pointed out that the church has translated the Bible into Latin language. It has many mistakes, and he also said that there are many beliefs of the church or the many teachings and belief of church are superstition. That's why he wrote a satirical book. The name of the book was In Face of Folly. In that book, he took a critical look at many church views or many of the church teachings and action he wrote in that book. Next paragraph. Did women also participate in the humanist studies? Our question goes like this. So far we have talked about the men humanist, but the question is that did women also participate in the humanist studies? In those days, only men received formal education. In the time of Middle Age, on the time of Renaissance, only men used to get the education. Women were expected to look after the household, and women were asked to look only what? Household, or to do household work. But there were a few women who broke these barriers and studied Greek and Latin, making for themselves among the humanist writers. But what happened? There were some women, those who broke these barriers, and they studied Greek and Latin language and they named themselves as a humanist writer. And one of them was Cassandra Fedele. Cassandra Fedele. So in this paragraph we will learn that did women participate in the humanist studies? Yes, in those days or in the time of early modern age, on the time of Renaissance, only the men used to get the formal education and women were asked to only take care of the household activities. But there were some few women who broke these laws, rules, regulations, and they studied the Greek and Latin language, and they proved themselves as a humanist writer. And among them was what? One was Cassandra Fedele. We can see this is the image of Cassandra Fedele. She believed that women too should not allowed to learn the classic. So she believed that women too should be allowed to learn the classic. According to her, she said that women also has to be allowed to learn these classics. In those days, Venice was a republic, but women were not allowed to participate in the public life. in those days. And that means in the time of Renaissance, Venice, it is a place, the country, it was republic country. But what happened? The women were not allowed to participate in the public life. Fedele felt this was a barrier that limited freedom and democracy and gave a presidency to the needs and wishes of women. So this Cassandra Fedele, she felt that it was a barrier. It is what? A hindrance that limited freedom and democracy. That means it is a barrier and the freedom was limited. For whom? Only for the man, and there is no freedom for the woman. So she said that it was a barrier that limited freedom and democracy and gave precedency to the needs and wishes of men. That means only men's wishes and words are fulfilled and obeyed. She was among the first women to criticize the male-centric system. And she was the first woman who, Cassandra Fedele, she criticized the male-centric system or male-dominant society, paving the way for the later feminist thinking to emerge. And she encouraged what? Feminist thinking. What is feminist? That means a person, those who study about the women, they are called what? Feminist. So she encouraged for the feminist thinking to be emerged or to establish. So in this paragraph we will learn that this Cassandra Fedele believed that women too also had to be given has the permission to learn this classic. And in those days, though Venice was a republic, but women were not allowed to participate in the public life. That's why Fedele felt it was a barrier that limited freedom of democracy and gave precedency to the needs and wishes of men only, not for the women. That's why she was among the first women to criticize the male-centric system. She criticized the male-centric system and she encouraged what? Feminist thinking or feminist system. Another famed humanist was Italian Niccolo Machiavelli. Another famous humanist. He was from Italy. What was his name? Niccolo Machiavelli. He published an important book called The Prince. He published a book. The name of the book was The Prince. When? In the year of 1513. In the year of 1513, he published a book. The name of the book was The Prince. It was basically study of politics. That means in that book, basically it mentioned about politics. It investigated how political process actually happen in the real world rather than some imaginary or ideal situation. So in that book, he has mentioned that how political process actually happen in the real world. Political process how actually happen in the real world in compared to imaginary or ideal situation that he has investigated. It describes how a king can acquire autocratic power by freeing himself from all moral compunction. That means he described that how a king can acquire autocratic power. What is autocratic power? That means autonomous or ruled by single person. That means king is all in all. Whatever he said, that is the final. So in that book, he has mentioned about that how a king acquired the autocratic power and freeing himself from all the moral compunction. So in this paragraph, what we'll learn? There was another humanist or famous humanist of Italian. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli. He published an important book and the name of the book was The Prince. It was published in the year of 1513. And this book is basically speaks about political issues. So what happened? He investigated what he investigated? How the political process actually happen in the real world in compared to the imaginary or the ideal situation. And in that book, he has also mentioned that how a king can get power or acquire power without following any moral compunction. Next paragraph. In this way, we see how the study of ancient classic gave rise to humanism. So from the above example, we came to know that the study of ancient classic gave to rise of humanism. Humanist studies strengthen people's power to self-expression and critical thinking. That means the studies of humanists strengthen the people, encourage the people, motivate the people for what? For power of self-expression and critical thinking. Through the study of humanism, people were motivated about the self-expression and to think critically. It eventually led to opposition of the church. But what happened? This humanist teaching was opposed to church. Among the permanent changes it made, the most important were liberal classical education and intellectual freedom. So what was the permanent changes made? The most important were liberal classical education and intellectual freedom. That means from this paragraph we learn that from the above we come to know that how the study of ancient classic gave to rise of humanism, and because of the study of humanism people were strengthened and reminded the power of self-expression and the critical thinking, and this study of humanism actually opposed to church. Among the permanent changes it made that the most important were liberal classics education and freedom. Next class or the third part of this chapter we'll learn about Renaissance in India. Thank you.